Aloha everyone, my name is Alessandro and this is the Temple of Surf, the podcast. We'll give you full access to the best surfers, skaters, shapers, surfboard collectors, shop owners in the world. Discover with me their stories, the greatest successes, amazing behind the scenes and much more. This episode is brought to you by Yogi Pipe, a line of apparel created with eco-friendly materials by artisans from all over the world. Let's discover more about them and their collection on www.yogipipe.surf. Hello everyone and welcome to the 5th episode of the second series of the Temple of Surf podcast. Today with us, part of the series of the best surf shop in the world, Jake, owner of the legendary Drifter in Bali. With Jake, we spoke about surfboard, drifter, future projects and much more. Hi Jake and welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm up at Uluwatu in Bali at my house, which is relatively near the temple of Uluwatu.
Yes. Fantastic place, Uluwatu. How is it going in Bali in this difficult time of coronavirus? You guys see tourists? How is it going over there?
Well, tourists, the traditional kind of definition of tourists, no. You know, the families traveling from, different parts of the world. No, but there's lots of local expats and people who live here. So they're around. And there's a little community up here at Uluwatu. And I think there's also one down in Canggu, you know what I mean?
So there is more space for everybody back into the lineup, right? It's not as crowded as it's going to be in July and August.
Yes, it's you know what? There's that catch-22, right? It's like, as a business owner, obviously with Drifter, it's much slower than we would expect, but we're doing okay. It's ticking along. And then the flip side, the waves are a lot less crowded, So the balance, right?
Yeah, exactly. We need to see the glass always half full in every situation, right? So it's important to keep hope for the future. Today we're going to talk about Drifter, of course, but we talk about you and your future projects. The first question that I have for you is, in your opinion, what is the most important thing in surfing?
That's a good question. I would say surfing and life, we can probably do parallels, and that's being true to yourself. I think it's an old cliche, but the best surfer in the water is the one having the most fun, right?
Yeah.
So the traditional down the middle of the road, thruster, competitive, everyone's striving for that particular goal. That's one avenue, but there are so many different avenues for people to enjoy ocean time,
Yeah, actually, it's interesting if you had the time to listen to the podcast, there are kind of the pro surfer, they never answer, have fun. The other people that maybe are not that competitive, they answer, right. The most important thing is have fun. And of course, in the multitude of answers, there is quite a lot of people that said fun, and obviously everybody agrees, right?
Sharing with friends, enjoying, being in nature, being invigorated, exercise, all of those. I think it's all a bigger picture,
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Do you remember the first time that you started to surf? Where it was?
Yeah, I was pretty young. We used to go to, my father lived in Hawaii on Oahu in the late 60s. So we used to go to Hawaii pretty much every Christmas for many, many years to visit friends. And I remember surfing, or body surfing more clearly, at Sandy Beach in Makapu. At that time, I was pretty young. I was between 7 and 13, I think, maybe even younger. So I have to admit it, I jumped on a boogie board a couple times and, pulled into barrels at Sandy's or whatever as a young grommet. But graduating onto surfboards, it was in Hawaii.
And you remember your first surfboard?
Yeah, I had a blue Hawaii, Glen Manami blue Hawaii.
You still have that one or no?
You know what? I don't, man. I was hitchhiking and I was hard up for money and I sold it in France, in Biarritz, many years ago now.
You need to get it back, right?
Hey, man, I'm okay to let that one go, bro. I've that many surfboards in my collection,
How many do you
But
have?
yeah, personally, in my kind of quiver, probably 30.
Okay.
And
It's
then
good.
under my house, people are always coming to Ulus, and people have left boards with me for the last 15 years. So I probably have another 30 or 40 under my house,
Okay.
which technically are mine. I claim after 2 or 3 years,
Yeah,
if you haven't
exactly.
got that,
If they don't
it
come up
depends.
and ask for them, then it's yours by property, kind of
By
thing.
like salvage rights, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what is the most representative piece of your collection? A surfboard, of course, of your collection.
That I use the most,
Well, the one
or
that
that
you would, if you had to pick one, which one you would?
well, that's so hard, Alessandro. That's a tough one, man. I mean, I have right behind me, I have a Bolsa gun from Mitchell Ray, and above me here, I have a Reno Abalera lightning bolt, and over there, I've got a Jerry Lopez, and right up here, I have a Brewer. You know what I mean? And they're all magic sleds, but
Yeah.
I haven't actually ridden any of those yet. But in my quiver that I ride on a bigger day, I would say I have an 8.6 Chapman Brewer that I ride when it's big here at Ulus or Outer Island. And then I have a few beautiful Gary McNeils that I ride on smaller days. Twin pin Gary McNeils that I love. That's a hard one,
Yeah.
bro. It's like anything. It's like just different conditions, different feeling. What kind of vibe are you in that? Am I in that particular day, or what are the waves doing? Yeah, it's a hard one, man. Sorry, I'm a bit. I didn't really answer that question, did I?
It's okay. It's okay. So it's like at a certain point for collectors, the surfboards are like their son, So you cannot choose one. Okay,
Yeah,
but I know
yeah.
it's difficult. It's difficult. And something very interesting. I don't know if you know. I was at the phone a few weeks ago with Bird Huffman. Bird is the
Right,
bird of San Diego. The famous surf
yep.
shop, hangar surf shop. And in his collection, he has 1,500 surfboards.
Right.
Yeah, and so he took the time
It's
in
a
this
lot of.
coronavirus environment. He took a photographer and he started to kind of classify all of them. And he's going to soon release a website with the story of each surfboard. And
Wow.
you, as a owner of surf shop, that connects also with the first part what you said. He has a rule. If you go inside the store and you find your old surfboard, and if you can prove that that is your surfboard, then you walk out with the surfboard for free.
Right. Very cool. I like that. Right. Yeah, that's honorable, right? Yeah.
And
That's very generous of him for sure.
yeah, he was telling me like one day one guy came inside and said like that's my Jerry Lopez from the 70s, and he said like
Yeah.
I have to give
He,
it
he
back.
let him take it, or he said no way.
He proved. He said like there is like a
Right.
sticker, just like there is behind the sticker there is this, and the rule is a rule, right?
Right. Fair enough. Like when you talk about collection, yeah, in the shop in Drifter, we have a couple of drifters. One in Seminyak, I have a beautiful collection of Terry Fitzgerald, Martin Worthington, hot butteds, or just psychedelic murals that are magical. You know what I mean? Some of those are just primo. And then up here at Uluwatu, we have some incredible hand-shaped Jerry, Clark Foam, Al Chapman's, Rob Machado. We've got a beautiful selection of boards that, technically are mine. we have a funny thing going on with us, the crew involved in Drifter, that we have a lot of boards that are not for sale. We just like them too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for the right price, everything's for sale, to be honest.
Yeah, like depends on what is the price, right? You can be like $1 million. No, it doesn't work, right? Cool. Can you share with me the story of Drifter? How did it started?
Yeah, for sure. Drifter was, in a sense, a need to fill in a part of the industry or the lifestyle, or a need to have a alternative venue for artists and left of center brands, right? So it initially started down in Seminyak or Oberoi, Jalan Kaya Ayu in Seminyak, because I was living down in that area and I couldn't find any wax. You had to drive to Kuta or, drive a distance to get wax. And so I thought, hey, let's sell some wax. You know what I mean? Let's keep it simple. Let's create a shop in this area that sells wax. And then that was the first thought. And then, close behind that, it's, there was definitely kind of a movement and a shift towards more alternative style stores. I could name a few, you're probably familiar with them, like the Mollusks and Italia Streets and, shops like that around in different parts of the world. And so it was like, I was living there and I was surfing Uluwatu a lot. And I had a friend up here who also was in the industry. He was representing a few brands. And I approached him one day and said, hey, man, how about opening a space? I've got this location on the street in Oberoi. Do you want to put some of your brands in? And he had brands. I think he had like Obey and Macbeth at that time and Vestal. And so he turned around at me and said, how about we go in together? And I thought about it, went away and came back and was like, you know what? Two brains are better than one. He offers something really important, back end and administrative and more logistical, that area that I wasn't so versed in. And yeah, we teamed up and that's how Drifter kicked off down in Seminyak. And then in no time, it got traction and people really dug it. We had brands like Rhythm, Patagonia, Hippie Tree, our own brand, the Drifter Vertical brand, and a few other kind of minor Insight at that time, kind of left of center brands. And people dug it. And we had some cool boards and some funky artwork and it kind of morphed. Next thing we knew, we took over the space next door, we had a little cafe and became more of a community hangout, like an old school surf shop, a sofa and, a couple of movies playing and good music, reggae and espressos, and surfboards. It was like a bit of a kind of happening, a bit of a scene, people hanging out and old school.
Yeah.
And so that was Seminyak. And then Seminyak now is about 12 years old or 13 years old. And unfortunately at this time, because of the coronavirus, that particular location we put it on hold. It's on ice. It's not open. There's zero people down there. So, but it's still there. And we're hoping to have it back open in who knows when, but sometime in the near future. Yeah. So that's how Drifter began. And it created its own life and its own vibe. And I think, being friends with Rob Machado and the movie The Drifter, that kind of tied in. We spoke to Rob about if he was cool with us using that name, and he was totally cool with it. So that kind of was kind of about the same time that the movie was released. So it was pretty appropriate. And then Chris Del Moro, who's another good friend of ours, you may know Chris, American Italian, super amazing surfer, a beautiful artist. Just a good bro. He was involved doing art collaborations with us, and then we started working with other artists and doing little collabs, and like real kind of left of center art based, and that's kind of more or less, I would say, the feeling and the dynamic of Drifter, that left of center art based, but maintaining a core surfing kind of line or perspective. We still surf as much as possible. So we're staying salty. We represent the art, the music, the good coffee. Now we have a restaurant up at Uluwatu. So it's more of a kind of a holistic perspective of the lifestyle. That's a long answer to your question.
No problem. No problem at all. Actually, it became an icon, right? If you think about Bali, think about Drifter, right? Like as a surf shop that is not a surf shop. It's a surf shop, but is much more than that, as you said. So if you had to choose like one secret of your success in creating Drifter, which one it would be?
Yeah, that once again, that's a really good question. And I think I already said initially, being true to yourself, following your heart, doing what feels right and pursuing it. I think that is a very important part of how Drifter has blossomed, and maintaining a focus on the brand identity. And that's probably more of a corporate way to say it, but staying true to who we are and staying true to what we represent, I think, is a very important part of it. I think timing also is very important. We were pretty fortunate, I think, for that period in time, 12, 13 years ago. But I would have to say being true to our selves and our roots and who we are and our baseline and our like motivations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. What is your best memory of those of these 12 or 13 years? The one that you will never forget.
Surfing with friends, doing drifter trips with friends, using our marketing budget to do surf trips. To be honest, I mean, yeah, it's been great. We've had some great parties. We've had great events. We've done cool stuff with Andy Davis and Rob Machado and Chris Del Moro and Guy Hastings and all these cool artists, you know what I mean? Matty Yates, you know, Joel Fitzgerald. We've done all kinds of cool stuff in the event space. But I have to say, a couple of trips we've done some really fun trips to Solomon Islands, to, you know, Sumba, to Sumbawa, to the Mentawais, you know? That has to be the pinnacle, you know, hanging out with friends, sharing, surfing, you know, we could do that anyway without having drifter, you know what I mean? But it just happens to be.
But it's also about community, you know, like a surf shop, a store. It is not only selling merchandise, you know, it's about the community and the people that gravitates around that, right? Your employees, visitors, artists. Giving opportunity to artists is also a great thing, right? Because we're not talking about only very famous artists, but also local ones, right?
Totally. Yeah, I think that's you're very right. You know, it's like we've created an extended family, you know, with our local staff and our local crew, and then visitors and people who live here. And then with the addition now of Uluwatu, where we have a restaurant and an event space, we just have, it's just more dimensional. There's more dimensions to it, which was always our vision, having a space for the art gallery, a really cool place to sit and chill and eat and have healthy food, place to gather, create more community, and a very cool shop that you can browse and buy cool stuff that you feel comfortable, you know, not pressured, and you're in an environment that's kind of like piques your interest and kind of keeps you curious. And there's attention to detail. I think that's one thing with Drifter that has to be said, is we pay attention to the small details, you know. It's very important.
Definitely. And the customer experience is great, you know, for people that they walk into the store, they don't feel like oppressed, you know, for a few minutes, few hours or whatever, right?
There's no of music and fluoro lights. It's like reggae and soft lighting.
Very nice.
You know,
if you had to give a suggestion to a new surf shop owner that opens his door today, which one would you give him? Or
I suppose there's a few things. Like I've been saying, you know, I think it's really key to be true to yourself. You know, is this really what is driving you? Are you doing it? What is the purpose you're doing it? Is it something you really love and you want to? It's your lifestyle. That's obviously a good question to ask yourself. And obviously, if you got to the point you're opening a surf shop, then yes, obviously hard work is an important part. And I think trading 101, buy it for $1, sell it for $2.
Yes.
You want to make money and be successful. It's cool to have an amazing vibe retail space and have a high-end product or whatever you have. But if you don't sell anything, then you're not going to keep your doors open. So you got to be also focused on the bottom line, you know. Obviously, it's a business. You're not a charity.
What's next for Drifter? I mean, now, of course, everything is kind of frozen or stopped, waiting for maybe a vaccine to be found or the new airlines to fly around the world. But what was next? What's next? What are your plans?
For Drifter, what is next is we're looking at doing more of a global representation of our brand. We want to spread out and be, you know, slow burn. It's not like we're going to, you know, do it next week or next year. It's like we've got a plan now to launch and slowly get traction in the overseas market. Kind of like we're born in Bali, you know what I mean? We're born and raised in Uluwatu in Indonesia. So the brand is that's our fundamental. And from here, we want to expand out to, you know, Australia more and America more and Europe and Japan. So yeah, I think that's on our radar. We've got a great team. We've got some real creative people and some real savvy business people that I work with, that work with me. And I think we've got a good team and the opportunities there. Obviously, with this current predicament and situation on the planet with COVID and the massive shutdown economically. It's hard times. So like most business, I'd say we're just basically maintaining and just taking our time and stripping back the unnecessary. And in a sense, it's kind of, there's some positives in it, right? Like, there's like, we're looking at stripping back and cutting down and just getting more trim and more streamlined, probably a good word. And then getting back into our expansive plans or expansion plans. Online is obviously key. So we've been working with some good crew doing more online strategy and building a better website and having a better strategy to market using Instagram and other social marketing platforms, which is key, right? You can see certain businesses in this time have really just kicked on as a result of online shopping habits,
Definitely.
So,
and reaching a wider audience is it's important. And plus, if you're gonna have in the future a platform where to sell or where you can host your guests around the world, then it's gonna be more holistic approach, like 360. So good. Looking forward to see Drifter in all those countries. We're gonna finish our interview with a short Q&A session. So please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
The best surfboard that you ever ridden?
Jerry Lopez, 6'6",
Nice.
thruster, handshake.
Your favorite shaper?
Gary McNeil.
Your favorite song?
Right now, Neil Young. Oh man, take a look at me now. Once again, that's a hard one. There's so many good songs out there.
Okay, cool. Your favorite surf spot?
Ooh, Uluwatu.
Yeah. Home sweet home, right? There is no other place like that.
Backyard, yep.
Your favorite surfer?
I'd have to say Rob Machado.
Yeah.
I'll give Rob props. There you are, Rob.
It's also
even though he's a goofy footer. Actually, you know what? That's a hard one because actually Rusta's pretty damn good too, and he's a regular footer. Can I split the peak between those two? One goes left, one goes right.
I am
Rob
sure
goes left, Dave goes right.
Rob is not gonna, is not gonna cry.
Yeah.
Cool. And the last question is a little bit unusual. We ask everybody, has nothing to do with surf or surf shop or whatever, is your best relationship advice?
Wow. That's a deep one again, Alessandro. I like what it says above the Delphi, man. Know thyself. If you know yourself and you're comfortable in your own skin, then you can be much more present in any relationship.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Definitely. So thanks a lot, Jake, for being on the show with me today. And I look forward to talking to you very soon.
Thank you, Alessandro. Grazie. Om swastiastu om.
Prego. And hope to see you one day when the flight will be reopened and I can come to Bali.
Please, we'll go for a paddle out of Lulu's and have a coffee in the shop.
Cool. Ciao. Bye. Take care. Thank you. Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!